Go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Stand by for further instructions, MinnesotaBlack RobeRegiment.
Secondary guidance systems engaged.
Thanks for coming to the Minnesota Black Robe Regiment channel.
Secondary guidance
I
systems.
want to welcome you to this episode of Casual Cognitive Dissonance. This is episode 7. Today we're going to be interacting with, well, quite frankly, maybe some of the most startling examples of cognitive dissonance I have seen in quite a while. I don't even know where to start to describe what we're about to see. If you're faint of heart, if you have a weak heart, if you have a particular allergic reaction towards vapid thought or vapid comments, I would strongly recommend that you have your EpiPen ready, because you are probably going to experience anaphylactic shock. This is not going to be pretty. So, for lack of better terminology, we should probably go ahead and get started.
MinnesotaBlack RobeRegiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at will.
Today, at the time that I'm recording this video, Carol Levin of the Twin Cities had shared this story about Kyle Rittenhouse. He is the young man who is on trial for his life. He's not on trial yet. He's out on bail, out on bond right now, for his part in a deadly encounter in Kenosha, Wisconsin, this last summer. Most of you are probably familiar with the story, so I'm not going to rehash that. But Kyle appears to have violated the conditions of his bond by not giving his address to the court. In this case, it's normally with the prosecutor. So they filed a motion on Wednesday, February 3rd, to have him arrested. They've issued they want to rescind his bond, and they want to put a warrant out for him. So here's a little bit. Prosecutors asked the judge Wednesday for a new arrest warrant for an Illinois teen charged with shooting 3 people, killing 2 of them during a protest over police brutality in Wisconsin, after he apparently violated his bail conditions. Kyle Rittenhouse failed to inform the court of his change of address within 48 hours of moving. Kenosha County prosecutors alleged in a motion filed with Judge Bruce Schroeder. The motion asked Schroeder to issue an arrest warrant and increase Rittenhouse bail by $200,000. First of all, it's not bail; it's a bond. He's out on bond. There's a difference between bail and bond. Rittenhouse's attorney, Mike Richards, countered in his own motion Wednesday that death threats have driven Rittenhouse into an undisclosed safe house. Richards said he offered to give prosecutors a new address in November if they would keep it secret, but they refused. He said Rittenhouse had stayed in constant contact with him. So that's that story. So I'm going to address a couple of things here. One, he is allowed to be out on bond. He does while he's on bond. He still has the presumption of innocence. Everybody thinks they're an expert because they can watch video that's out there. I'll tell you that from what I've seen, the man was defending himself. He was attacked, unprovoked. Just because he had a firearm doesn't mean that he's provoking attack. He was unprovoked. He defended himself. People were trying to kill him. Okay, one guy pulled a gun, and Kyle just happened to get the drop on him and vaporized his bicep. Tough cookies. Pull a gun on somebody who's got a bigger gun, who looks like he's probably better trained with it than you are, you're probably going to suffer for it. Now, no loss of life is ever something we should be rejoicing over, but they were going to harm him. They were going to harm him, and he had done nothing at all to provoke the attack. More than likely, if he didn't have a gun, he'd be dead today himself. So all that aside, Phil Rasmussen here said, shouldn't have been arrested in the first place. Now, yes and no, okay? If you're going to use a firearm in self-defense, you have to understand that there comes a risk with that. When you use a firearm with self-defense, and I understand Phil's point, when you use a firearm in self-defense, I don't care what state you're in, even if you're a state that has a castle doctrine or castle law or a standard ground law, in self-defense, you're going to be arrested. You might not be that same day. It might be days later. It might be weeks later. It could be months later. But you're going to be arrested, and that sucks. It's just it's the nature of the beast. Okay, so I understand what he was saying and why, but some of what happens here as this people interact with Phil are just it's almost laughable. This gentleman, Paul Solinger, said, "Phil, do you believe all mass murderers should walk free or just the white ones?" What? I don't even know what to say here. What does this have to do with ethnicity? And as I point out in another comment under my comment under under Phil's original post, a white guy shoots a white guy and kills him, shoots a white guy and kills him, shoots another white guy and takes his bicep off. What does this have to do with the price of tea in China when it comes to just white mass murderers? Okay, first of all, Kyle Rittenhouse does not, by any stretch of the imagination, meet the definition of a mass murderer. Should he have been where he was with a gun? I don't know. What I'm going to tell you is he was where he was, and he did have a gun, and he used it in apparent self-defense. Nowhere near the classification of a mass murderer. 2, Phil did argue that he shouldn't have been arrested in the first place. Okay, neither here nor there, but Paul has already adjudicated him, Kyle, that is, guilty. Now, I want to point out that I don't know Paul from Adam, but I know the mentality, and I guarantee you this is the same guy that probably defended the individual who started this entire situation in Kenosha and said the cops should be arrested for what they did, even though now all investigations have, subsequent to the shooting in Kenosha, said that Blake was shot justifiably and that law enforcement committed no crime, they committed no offense, they committed no abuse of their power or their authority, and they did not use excessive force. So the riots that burned down a good portion of Kenosha, where Kyle was going to help as a EMT or a paramedic or whatever he was, and also help clean up damage and graffiti, those riots happened built on a false narrative that a bunch of evil white cops killed or tried to kill a black man, but ended up paralyzing him instead. False narrative. It was a manufactured narrative. Cognitive dissonance much? I say this, and I mean it. You Marxist puppets are laughable, especially the person who calls this comment racism. Kyle was white, the 2 guys who were killed were white, the other guy who was shot was white, but somehow, because it was a riot full of thugs, miscreants, and criminals who were protesting the justified shooting of a suspect, anybody who defends Kyle is now a racist. You keep using the term racist so often you literally stripped it of any meaning. And it does. It doesn't mean anything anymore. As I have said in other videos, and I will continue to say, go ahead, call me a racist. I don't even care anymore. It doesn't mean anything. Call me a white supremacist. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Call me a Nazi. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Call me a white right-wing extremist. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Why? Because it's not true. And I'm not going to defend myself from it. Because I don't have anything to defend. I don't have anything to argue. I'm not going to fall into your Kafka trap. I don't care what you call me. You don't know me. And Kyle's not a racist because he shot 3 white guys. It's not racist. The guy who's defending him, as though he's off, he's not a racist for saying it. So now I have Andrea home say, you're slow if you can't understand. If I can't understand what, Andrea? It's just absolutely, just completely disconnected. You're slow if you don't understand. And I'm not even going to correct your grammar. Sorry. Andrea, your grammar is crappy. And I say that. Andrea Home, I would wrap you up in so many intellectual and logical knots, you wouldn't be able to unravel yourself in 45 years. Just because you assert something is racist or assert that a person is racist doesn't make it so. People aren't automatically racist because of the color of their skin. And no, don't tell me to do the work. See, that's a big thing now. When somebody accuses you of racist and you say, how am I or being racist, and you say, how am I racist? They tell you, do the work. Well, I don't want to be a racist. Well, do the work. Well, how do I not be a racist? Do the work. What work? Okay, that's what they say. And that's basically what Andrea was saying. If you're slow if you can't understand. That's a variant of do the work. This be an ally. How am I an ally? I'm not going to tell you. You need to figure it out. Well, I don't know how to figure it out if you don't tell me what I need to do to be an ally. That's what all of this is. It's critical race theory. And so many people have bought into it. And it's caused so much cognitive dissonance that they just throw things out casually and they just walk right on by because look, I won the argument. Like a what? So here we have Jolynn Nelson saying, the SOB killed 2 people. He came to a protest armed to the teeth, ready to use the weapon. He needs to sit in jail until his trial. I don't give a hoot what color any of them are. Now here's what I'll say. You know what, Jolynn? Great. I'm glad you don't care what color they are. Armed to the teeth? Like, you make it sound like this guy was a walking commando unit. Like he was out there like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando, like with his bandolier on and grenades, and like a bazooka, anti-tank weapon, and like Claymore mines, and like he was out there, he was just setting all this stuff up, and he was yelling at people and provoking them, and there was like when they came over, he set off some mines over here, and he set off a trap over here, and he was killing people everywhere. He was running away. The kid was literally running away. Like, if he was armed to the teeth, it would have been like I can't remember what movie it is, but they're like, oh, I think it might have been Men in Black. Like, you need to, I don't know, it could be wrong, but you need to, get rid of all your weapons, take them all off. Just like, he had 1 AR platform and some rounds. He literally was carrying more in his medical pack than he was carrying firearms. Like, do you even know what you're talking about, Jolyn? Do you any idea? Or is it just the fact that he had an AR platform that he was therefore armed to the teeth? I'm like, I have a 22 that'll hold more rounds than any AR platform, any Warsaw Pact weapon platform. I have a 22 that'll hold just by itself, just in its chamber, 20 rounds. Does that mean I'm armed to the teeth if I take it out to go squirrel hunting? I don't go squirrel hunting, but that's not the point. So here we have Andy, who, Andy, bless your heart, Andy. You give it a good shot, but you miss. So you might want to go and go shooting with Jolynn, because apparently she can explain what armed to the teeth is, and that means she must have a lot of familiarity with firearms. So I think the point is, if he was black, he wouldn't have been let out on bond. What? That is the dumbest thing I've read in weeks. Like, literally the dumbest thing that I've read in weeks. So no black person ever gets out on bond, ever. Like, I don't know where you're from, Andy, haven't bothered to look it up, but I can promise you, black individuals who commit crimes or are accused of committing crimes get out on bond all the time. All the time. Now, we can have a completely different conversation about bond and how high bond should be. Like, I have no problem. Let's have that conversation, my friend. Let's have that conversation. Because I believe that most of the bonds that are set today are actually a violation of the Constitution. The Constitution says that bond can't be set so high as to be punitive. It can't be penal. You can't punish you. Bond can't punish you. It's just only meant to secure you. So we can have that conversation sometime. But this is ridiculous. Criminals of every ethnicity, criminals of every skin tone get out on bond every day. Thousands and thousands of them across the United States get out on bond every day. Thousands and thousands don't get out on bond every day. White, black, Hispanic, Asian, Native, it doesn't matter. Thousands get out every day and thousands don't. Some have a reasonable bond set. Some have an exorbitant bond that's almost, it's just asinine how high they are. That being said, you literally just spouted gibberish that made no sense at all. It made no sense. I'm sorry, Andy, it made no sense because it's demonstrably untrue. Demonstrably untrue. And so Paul has to come back because Paul, was up there above making some really good. What was his comment here? Let's see. Paul Solinger. Do you believe all mass murderers should walk free or just the white ones? So Paul comes down here, and I think Paul might actually be a troll. Not sure, but to summarize your argument, Marxists are pro-life. My response to him later on, literally and non sequitur. The two are not in any way linked in this conversation. He just throws things out there. There again, casual cognitive dissonance. He's just saying stuff. Just saying stuff. Literally makes no sense. Which, there again, he's either a troll or a Marxist. So, and I say this to Jolyn, is is he innocent until a jury of his peers adjudicated the case? She comes back. He violated the terms of his release. He is guilty of that and should be punished for it. Well, wait a minute. This woman's convicted him twice now. She's convicted of murdering 2 people while being armed to the teeth, mind you. And now she's already convicted him of violating the terms of his release. Well, first of all, we've got an explanation for it. And another man comes in here later on and explains exactly why. The county attorney, the prosecutor, for whatever county Kenosha's in, has a duty to make sure that the defendant in this case is not being exposed to undue danger. And if he refuses to agree with the defense attorney to keep the man's safe house address secret, would you want to give it to him? Let's see. When you're out on bond, bond is not meant to keep you secure from harm on the outside in the sense that, well, if you can't be safe on the outside, the safest place for you is in the jail. No, bond is to treat you as if you're innocent, because you know what? In the United States, you're innocent until proven guilty. Even if a bunch of armchair lawyers and armchair experts think that they can prove that you're guilty from watching some out of context video. So, Jolyn, even in this case, having read that article, if you read it at all, the jury's out, so to speak. We don't get to convict him of the murders, and we don't get to convict him of violating the terms of his bond. That's between the judge, the prosecutor, and the defense attorney to work out. You don't get right now. The judge didn't, and apparently, because I haven't heard that he's been rearrested. It looks like they're working things out because the kid has the right to live his life until he's been tried and convicted, or tried and found not guilty. It's not up to you to do that unless you're going to sit on the jury. But ain't nobody in the world going to sit you on the jury now. I don't know where you're from, so I don't really care. And there again, I say they allege that he violated the terms of his release. Moreover, even if he did, he still has the right to do defense on even that. So here's what I want to get at, okay? And I've talked about this so many times. This cognitive dissonance that is taking place in our culture right now, it can happen on the right and on the left, but it's almost a 90% on the left and 10% on the right. This cognitive dissonance issue that we're having is so abundantly clear. Like they get to just say stuff. They just get to throw it out there. And I don't care if it's wear a mask, we save lives. Wear 3 because they're safer. He violated the terms of his bond. Says who? Says who? The defense attorney said, I've been trying to give you his address, but you won't guarantee me you'll keep it private. If you're the defense attorney, would you want him to go in? And I damn sure wouldn't want him sitting in that local lockup, because they're going to make mincemeat out of that guy when he gets in there. And they're not going to like him. Not because criminals don't like criminals, but he's not the right kind of criminal. He's literally the kind of criminal that wouldn't be sitting where he is right now if he gets arrested. He wouldn't be sitting where he was if it wasn't for, to some degree, a certain level of political prosecution. The optics are good. If we can convict Kyle Rittenhouse, if we can get him thrown into jail and then ultimately convict him, the optics look good. Look what we're doing. We're working to end the ethnic disparity in the justice system. And here's the other part of the cognitive dissonance that I really want people to focus on. We've been hearing for months, for years, but especially since George Floyd died, that law enforcement and the justice system as a whole are failing, that they're failing, that you can't trust the justice system. But here we are now in a couple of different cases, but especially in this case, we're now supposed to believe that the justice system is fair and that Kyle Rittenhouse is going to get a fair shake. Why? Let that sink in. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people in the upper Midwest are going to go out and rally and protest and riot because the justice system is rigged, it's failing, you can't get a fair shake. But we're supposed to believe that Kyle Rittenhouse is going to get a fair shake. So if they put him out on bond, the justice system is rigged. If they arrest him, it's fair. And he'll get a fair trial because he's white. But if he gets convicted, it's what he deserves. If he gets acquitted, it'll be because he's white and the justice system is rigged. But I'm supposed to trust the justice system to treat him fairly when it doesn't treat other people. It hurts. Oh, it hurts so bad. It just hurts so much. I'm so sorry. But it hurts. I can't. Maybe the one gal is right. Maybe I'm just slow. But here's the thing, folks. The justice system is flawed. The justice system is broken. It's been broken from its inception, and it's going to continue to remain broken. But there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can do about the broken justice system if we keep harping on how broken it is and don't start working together to fix it. But this cognitive dissonance, this casual cognitive dissonance, isn't going to help anyone. You people have to stop. Kyle Rittenhouse is out on bond. He has a liberty to be out on bond, a reasonable bond. He has a liberty to a fair trial, a jury of his peers. And we don't get to convict him in the court of public opinion just because he's white. We don't get to convict him in the court of public opinion because in your eyes he was armed to the teeth. Like, I don't even know what that means. Murder isn't murder until it's proven. Kyle's not a murderer until he's found guilty. And you don't get to say he's a murderer now, and then if he gets acquitted, say the justice system is flawed. But then assist at the same time before he's acquitted or found guilty that it's working the way it's supposed to work. Either it's broken or it's not. It's either broken for everybody or it's broken for no one. Do I believe justice is blind? I don't. I don't believe justice is blind. I don't believe there's any such thing as an impartial prosecutor. I don't think there's any such thing as an impartial defense attorney. I don't think there's any such thing as an impartial judge. And there's damn sure no such thing as an impartial jury. Especially not in this environment today. Heaven forbid you be one of those people that is being politically prosecuted. You're not going to get a fair trial. And people will find you guilty just to avoid riots. And that's what Kyle Rittenhouse is facing. If Kyle Rittenhouse gets let off because the jury says, look, based on the preponderance of the evidence, the state has not made its case beyond any reasonable doubt that what he did was murder, if he gets off, he'll never be safe again. If he gets off, Kenosha will never be the same. It's going to look like Detroit. And all of the usual suspects are going to come in like they did this last summer and do what they did again. Antifa, Black Lives Matter, Black Bloc, New Black Liberation Army, New Black Panthers, they're all going to come in. If Kyle Rittenhouse is not found guilty, they will burn Kenosha and any place else to the ground to demonstrate how unjust the system is. This has got to stop, people. It's got to stop. We are never going to be united when all that's happening right now is everybody's making us divide over the color of our skin and our ethnicity. It's sickening. And so many of you support it, and you do it so casually. It's like you don't even know you're doing it. It's got to